Hi everybody, my name is Andrea of MAKADREZ.com. Today I am sitting here with Vishnu Thyagarajan, the owner of a concierge company, travel concierge company named Loqolhost. It's Loqolhost, correct?
Loqolhost, yeah.
Yes. So how are you today?
I'm doing great, yeah.
So how's things going with you?
It's good, yeah. We've been spending probably the last 3 months on Loqolhost developing the site for beta, and we should be releasing beta in the next couple of weeks. So it's been kind of a very busy time getting things together, building a little bit of a user community around that in a few cities, and excited to get launched.
Okay, so let us know a little bit more about your company, Loqolhost.
Yeah, so Loqolhost is a community that we are trying to build in terms of getting users who love to travel and explore in different ways from just the traditional tourism that people do typically when they travel. And so our whole idea is that if you want to have local insider tips when you're traveling, we can give you that powered by people, not powered by search engines, right? So it's a community where you can connect with other locals who live in the city, other travelers who may be going to those same places, and allows you to really kind of have a different, unique experience when you travel.
Oh, nice. So where exactly is your company based? Is it solely New York, or is it based around in different cities or different countries?
Yeah, so when we launch, we're going to be in 3 cities. We're going to be in San Francisco, here in New York City, as well as in Baltimore, Maryland. So those will be the 3 cities when we launch. Yep.
And Baltimore is coming up now, so it's pretty
Baltimore
good.
is an up-and-coming city. I lived there for 5 years before I actually moved to New York City.
Really?
So I have a pretty good familiarity of that location, as well as a lot of good folks that I know down there. So it is actually a really good city that I think is a little bit underrated.
Yeah, but it's beautiful the way it's, because I was in Baltimore over the summertime, I was in the downtown area, and you could see every few blocks there's a new building being renovated to come in the city.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start your company?
Yeah, so I was inspired because I actually love to travel. So I travel quite a bit for my own personal life, as well as for my current full-time job that I'm at, where I travel about 60% of the time for work.
Oh, really?
So I love to travel. I love to experience new cultures. I've been doing that since I was about 10 years old, traveling with my dad and my family. And so I think all of that together has led to just my love of experiencing different places and cultures and the uniqueness that a city can bring.
Right.
And I took all of that along with some other ideas as I've been traveling to come up with this idea.
With your regular day job, what exactly do you do that causes you to travel so much?
Yeah, I work for a software company, so it's a machine learning, analytics, and cloud data company called Cloudera. So I work with them as my full-time job. I've been there for about 7 years, and it's a global company. So I travel, across the world to places like Shanghai or Australia or London. So I've been very fortunate to get to go to those places for my job, but I've also been able to experience some really cool, unique places that otherwise I probably wouldn't have gone to in the last few years.
So starting your company, the concierge company, what services do you offer? Because you said you want to make the travel experience easier for individuals that come visit these cities to find out things to do. So what kind of concierge services do you offer?
Yeah, so right now it's going to be pretty basic. You'll be able to select things that you're interested in doing when you go to those cities. So maybe you're somebody that loves food, maybe you're somebody that loves nightlife, or you like kind of the arts and history of a city. You can select things that you're interested in doing, and you can connect with someone who's local in that location with similar interests. And that way you can kind of pair up and chat in real time about things that you both mutually would love to do, or that person can give you those recommendations in terms of things that are really tailored to what you would want to do in that city.
It sounds like it's the perfect app. It's going to be an app, or it's more so like just a website you
It's going to just be a web service right now, and then eventually I think this type of real-time kind of travel experience has to eventually be in an app that's on your phone personally.
Right.
But right now it's just going to be a web service.
Because as you talk about it, it just seems like it's the most ideal thing for like a solo traveler.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Because you're able to connect with people, find out what's going on in the city. So as a solo traveler, sometimes it's kind of like what to do. You don't know what to do. So a most ideal thing for a solo traveler to use.
Yeah.
So I guess because you come from a background in software engineering, how exactly have it helped you incorporate to build this app?
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying app. No, this website.
Yeah, it's just a website to start. I think my background has been more on the business side. So even at my current company, I am more focused on actually support and customer success and customer advocacy than I am on the engineering and development side. So I'm actually working with a developer who's kind of a mutual friend of another friend that I have, who has helped me to build kind of the back end and all the technical parts of the website. So I've been focusing primarily on the business side, marketing, all the financials, right? The branding that goes into really starting a company from the ground up. And I think that's where my experience has really come in, is on that business side, where I've been in that world for so long, not really as much on the technical side.
Do you have partners, or is it just you running everything?
Yeah, right now I have a good buddy of mine that I've known for a long time. We've actually worked together for about 10 years, and he's my current boss at my company.
Oh, wow.
And
Interesting.
he's kind of a partial financial investor in it as well. But I'm pretty
When you say
much,
partial, is he more so like a silent investor into
I would say
it? Or
that's the
and-
right terminology in terms of
Okay.
silent investor. And he's kind of just there from the financial standpoint along with me, but I'm pretty much the solo founder at this point.
Nice. So, as far as funding, is it fully self-funded, or do you have, other than the silent investor, other silent investors helping you?
Yeah, there are no other silent investors. So this is just bootstrapped from the ground up, and I plan to keep it that way for as long as I can go, really. I think part of the landscape is changing a bit in terms of founders who really want to just bootstrap versus going and taking angel investment or VC investment and things like that, where it changes what you really have to do as a company. Right now you have investors that you have to make sure that you're hitting certain targets or revenue goals and things like that, versus where you're bootstrapping and you really get control over the things that you want to do with your company.
Interesting. I was just about to get to why not get an investor instead of self-funding, but you just basically clarified exactly, because you want full control on everything.
Yeah.
Basically. So how long have you been building this company?
Yeah, so we had the idea actually back in 2015. So we've had this idea for a few years, and we started it back then in 2015. We eventually kind of put it on hold as our current company that we both worked for was doing really well. And we kind of wanted to put all of our investment and focus on that, and so we put it on hold. So we've been working the last 6 months, basically, between ideation, again, kind of re-ideation, I'll call it, of the positioning of the company, and then the development, which is still in progress right now, to where we are today. So about the last 6 months.
What have been your biggest struggle within this past 6 months of building this?
I think the user community has been the biggest struggle. So getting people to kind of buy into the idea, to want to be a part of it. I think that's also going to be the challenge going forward, in terms of finding folks who are in these cities that will want to spend the time to actually give their advice or recommendations or that insider knowledge about their city to other people who are traveling. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges that we face going forward.
Do you want to build this to be similar, kind of like how Airbnb, it's kind of like a community, like when you visit these cities and you have to rent the homes? Or do you want to build it kind of similar to like a Trivago or a kayak?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, actually, in terms of, is this kind of like Airbnb and that community model?
Right.
I want to keep it more as a community versus like a Trivago or a Booking.com, where it's more of a marketplace, I would say, where you go to those sites and then you just book something that's already there as a curated
Right. The reason I
experience.
said it's not, because you also could see the reviews. You get to see other people's reviews according to different places that you go
Yeah.
to. It could actually connect with people on places like Trivago and Kayak.
Yeah.
And when you're booking these things to find out exactly, is it worth me paying for even this thing I want to book?
Yeah. So I think our position is that we want this to be a community that's powered by people, right? I don't want it to be something that you have to spend a lot of time looking at reviews of different places to figure out what's good, right? So if you come here to New York City and you say, what's the best pizza place here in New York City that I should go to? If you look that up online, you're going to get all sorts of
Right.
search results, right? That'll take you a long time to go through. So instead, I want that to be powered by people here in the community, to be able to give those insider tips to other folks who have questions like that or want those types of experiences when they travel. So I would say more like an Airbnb, where that's a community model that I'm trying to build around people who just love to travel.
Have you launched yet, or you're still kind of in the phases of where you're still building?
We are still building, so we have not launched yet. We should be launching in the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're right there. We're at the end of our development cycle. We should be launching in the next couple of weeks.
Have you done any, what do you call those again? Focus groups to see how people feel about this type of service that you want to offer?
Yeah, I haven't done any real focus groups. Back when we tried to launch this in 2015, we had a couple of travelers that actually used the service then. It was very basic service. It was more just kind of email interaction with folks. And they gave us, some good feedback at that point, which helped to, I think, just get us more motivated about the idea. But other than that, I haven't done any real focus groups other than just talking to people, on the street that I meet or in different places about the idea, and they seem excited about it.
I'm just curious because it seems like you, in the position you have in your day job, it seems like a very good, stable, lucrative position that you do have. And right now you decide to take on this entrepreneurial journey. Do you want to eventually, have you ever thought about before this being an entrepreneur, or kind of just doing this, develop the entrepreneur hunger that you have right now?
I think it's developing it more. I think I've always had sort of this knack for wanting to do my own thing and kind of play by my own rules versus the corporate environment of having to do what someone else's goals really are, right? I think my company is great, who I work for full time. I think they're doing really exciting stuff with technology. But I think as entrepreneurs and founders, you start to realize there's passions that you have in other places that you really want to pursue. Yeah. And this is one of them. I love to travel. I've been traveling since I was a kid. And I think it's building more of that entrepreneurial spirit that I have, yeah.
So what has been the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
The biggest lesson I've learned so far, that's a good question. I think that would be that you should always be open to changing your ideas from what you think your company should be, right? Because as I talk to more and more people about Loqolhost, they have different ideas of what they would like to see in this company. And because I'm building it at this point from the very beginning, I have the opportunity to also kind of pivot in different ways to what other people or the community at large may want this to be. Mm-hmm. And I think as an entrepreneur, you should be open-minded to things like that versus very set in your ways and saying, okay, my company is only going to do this and this is exactly how the go-to-market is going to be. Mm-hmm. I think that's the wrong approach as an entrepreneur, especially in the beginning. I think you should be open to hearing other people's ideas, especially for a service like mine, where it is really that community that I'm catering to, right? So I think that's one of the biggest lessons right now that I'm learning is that people have other things or ideas for Loqolhost that they may want to see that I should be open to.
It's just so funny you brought that up. I'm just wondering now, because you have to be open to that criticism, rather it's negative, rather it's positive, how are you taking that constructive criticism as people give it to you?
Yeah,
about your company?
I will selfishly say that I'm pretty good at taking constructive criticism just from my day job. I get criticism over the course of my career and different things that I do. And I like feedback. I like people kind of giving me feedback in terms of how I'm doing personally, or in this case, how my company is doing and what they want to see or ultimately want the service to be. And I think as any good entrepreneur, you should be open to hearing that feedback from other people versus kind of living in your own box of this is exactly what it's going to be and nobody else is going to change my mind on that. So I've heard some really good ideas or unique things that people have kind of brought to me at this point as criticism or feedback, however you want to look at it. And those are things that I want to make sure I keep in the back of my mind as I continue to build the company.
So for a service like this, what does it take to actually produce a service like this? How much did you invest into it to build and produce a service like that?
Yeah, for the beta, it's a few $1,000s that I'm spending along with my silent investor in just developing the site, right, and developing those basic features. So I think as an entrepreneur and as someone who's bootstrapping, you don't want to spend too much money, right? You want to kind of be cost conscious in terms of the finances. And we're spending just a few $1,000s on the beta.
Nice. So for 2019 this year, for the launch that's going to happen within the next 2 weeks, what should people expect when they want to use your product? What should they expect to receive from using it?
Yeah, they can expect that they can go use the service if they're traveling to San Francisco, New York City, or to Baltimore. So if you're going to one of those places, you can definitely go and sign up, and you'll be able to actually have an experience with somebody who's local in those cities. So if you're traveling there, you want some advice on some of the best insider things to do there, you can absolutely use the service in the first few months.
So the main focus on the service is connecting individuals with locals.
Absolutely, yes.
That's like
100%.
the main focus on
Yeah.
it. I don't mean to group it, but it's kind of like, the app for when you're traveling, but then you don't want to pay for a hotel, you do couch surfing.
Yes.
Kind of like that. Is it kind of like that, would you say?
I've also had that analogy in terms of is Loqolhost like couch surfing? And I think the premise is not too dissimilar, right? Meaning that you're bringing that community of people who are there with somebody who needs that service, who's coming to that same city, right?
Okay.
But I believe our business model is very different, right? Where couch surfing was, hey, I just got this extra space that you can use and stay at my house for a day while you're traveling through the city.
Right.
Here, I want to be able to bring the best insider knowledge of what that city offers to create a unique experience for somebody traveling there, right? And I want to be able to bring the power of people together to have that community versus using travel sites or search engines that people are using today to try to figure that out, where most of the time you kind of fall into these tourist traps, right, in terms of the information that you're looking for.
So how do you vet the people that are doing the concierge service in these cities?
Yeah, right now it's going to primarily be myself and other folks that I know already who live in these cities. I think over time we're going to obviously expand the community, so we're going to have other folks who live there who I don't know.
Right.
And I think the vetting process is going to be an important part of that. But I do think we're also very much in kind of this sharing economy now with companies like Airbnb and Uber and Lyft, who are all about connecting people together who otherwise would not have connected.
Right.
And I think they've kind of broken down some of the barriers to make it easier for folks to connect without that fear of kind of connecting with a stranger. But I do think that's an important part of what we're going to have to think about going forward.
But the reason why companies like Airbnb is a little bit more safer is because they have everybody's card on file.
Yep.
So will people be able to actually purchase the services through you, or is just because if they're connecting just to connect with somebody, it's kind of like a community where you're just kind of like a forum, you're just chatting.
Yeah, it's going to be more, at least right now, it's going to be more of that community forum idea, right? So the expectation is not that you're going to meet up with this person somewhere, right? Or that you're going to get to know them outside of just using the service and them sort of chatting together and planning that experience. I think the vetting could happen in the future depending on the extent that those people will engage outside of the service, but that's not my expectation. That's not the way I'm positioning the company right now.
Oh, interesting. So if anybody wants to connect with you, find out more about Loqolhost, anything about your company, maybe solely invest into it for you, where exactly can they connect with you at?
Yeah, you can go to loqolhost.com. That's LOQOL host.com. That's where you can sign up and you can use the service. You can also email hello@loqolhost.com. That'll come to me. I'm happy to respond or answer any questions that you have. And I'm always available, so I'm always up for a chat. If you have ideas or things that you really want to see within the service, you can reach me at hello@loqolhost.com.
Do you have any social channels that you use as well for Loqolhost?
Yeah, you can track us on Instagram. We're primarily on Instagram right now. That's at Loqolhost is our Instagram handle, and Facebook as well. We're on there. So Facebook, Loqolhost on Facebook. You can find our group on there.
Nice. And whatever he says, you'll find it below if you didn't catch that. My name is Andrea of MAKADREZ.com. I just sat with Vishnu Thyagarajan. Definitely find out more about his service and what they do offer. If you're ever in San Francisco, you're in New York, you're in Maryland, definitely look up Loqolhost if you want to connect with amazing people to tell you more about the community and find authentic places to visit within those locations when you visit. Again, check us out every Tuesday, new episodes, and we will speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks.